How are you, Hind?
I'm all right. What about you?
I'm very good. Hind, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay. First of all, thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure. Thank you for
also
coming.
not getting me lost.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
So, my name is Hind. I am a clinical psychologist. I'm 23. I only recently graduated. And I'm also a content creator, everything related to psychology.
Okay, amazing. So, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what is the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist?
So this question is something that a lot of people don't really know the difference. So a psychiatrist is someone that studied 7 years, well, I'm talking basically in Algeria, someone that studied 7 years of medicine, then they did their residency in psychiatry. A psychologist is someone that studied 5 years in university, let's say a bachelor and a master's degree, and some might even go for a PhD. And there's also the other term, a psychotherapist, which is someone that studied 5 years of psychology and then 2 years of an internship, which they pay for. So, and the main difference is that a psychiatrist can prescribe you meds, but a psychologist cannot do that.
Oh, okay. So how do I know whether I need to go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist?
So you could go to both, and they would refer you to the other, because most of the time, if not all the time, the psychiatrist and psychologist work together.
Okay.
So it's kind of a mutual relationship. Already, like so many private practices, they have like an office for a psychiatrist and an office for a psychologist, and they just send the patients in between.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about this association you're just setting up. Yeah.
So we're still with the procedures. We still haven't gotten like the okay from the
government,
from the administrations, from the government. So it is a purely psychological association. Our main goal is to do conferences, activities, days where we'd go outside and talk about mental health. And from another side, you would provide therapy for people, group therapy, individual therapy. And we would also give a chance for students that study psychology to exercise and practice what they learn.
Okay, great. So could you get the microphone closer to you, please?
Better?
Even closer.
Better?
Yeah, better.
All right.
Okay, great. All right. So we were talking while coming here, and you were telling me about how sociopathy and psychopathy is not actually a legitimate thing.
Yes.
So tell me more about that.
It isn't the thing that's not legitimate, is the term. So in the mental health industry or in the health industry, we use the term antisocial personality disorder, which is ASPD. And psychopathy and sociopathy are terms that are just used or overused by the media. So every time they see someone that is a little bit immoral or a little bit like of a criminal, they would consider him a psychopath or a sociopath in media. But in reality, there's a whole procedure and there's a lot of diagnosis processes that go behind it. So basically, antisocial personality disorder is someone that lacks remorse, that doesn't have empathy, that has a very hard time accessing emotions that we feel, like love or caring about somebody or affection. There are also people that try to take advantage of others to get what they want. So they don't really care about stepping over other people to get where they want to be in life.
Yes, they have tendency to manipulate, etc.
Yes.
All right. So the question that I want to know is it possible to identify someone who is close to us
as a psychopath?
Yeah.
As someone that has a disorder.
That has a disorder that could, which would explain why he would tend to be manipulative.
True,
and
but
maybe would be more wary of him.
There's a lot of other disorders where people have the tendency or the lack of control over their emotions, and they tend to manipulate others. One of them is narcissistic personality disorder. So narcissists also do that. They step over people to get where they want to be in life. And there is another disorder where they have rocky relationships. One of these disorders are borderline. I don't know if you know it. Borderline personality disorder.
Tell me.
So borderline is a personality disorder. So before we go into these disorders, personality disorders are, they can be diagnosed, but they cannot be treated. It's something you live with for the rest of your life. There's not a medicine or a therapy that can make it go away. You just learn to control it, or you learn to manage it better.
Okay.
So, as I said, you cannot actually identify a person that has psychopathic or sociopathic tendencies. It's really hard because they could be a criminal, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have this disorder.
Okay. So I've heard a lot of stories of actual criminals who have been let out of prison, or maybe they're still on the loose, just because the court decided that they have a disorder, that it's not their fault. A famous case was something that happened in the US, where this person actually decapitated another person in a bus in front of a bunch of people. And then they decided that he was sick, and this is why this happened, and that he was going to live free, but supervised by professionals. But then professionals at some point they stopped supervising him, but he's still like completely free today. The people who witnessed the scene, so there was someone who was killed, obviously. A few of the people who witnessed the scene actually committed suicide because of PTSD. And some people say or think that he is unjustly free, that he should be punished anyway. So what do you think about that?
I think when it comes to justice, there are certain disorders. They do not justify the acts, right? They do not justify the murder.
This is important.
Yes, they do not justify it, but it is a trigger. It is something that leads to murder. So, and it's not just the disorder itself that makes a person lead to criminal activities, but there's also like the environment that he lives in. So there's so many people that they could be suffering from depression, but they don't necessarily try to kill themselves. But the environment that they're in pushes them to have suicidal tendencies. So it's the same thing with like certain disorders. They don't have dangerous tendencies to murder people or not, but the environment is the one that pushes them to. But for this case, this particular case, when there is a disorder that is told in court that, oh, you have a disorder so you can go, usually they go to a psychiatric facility. They are just like the one here in François. You know, they would tell the person, oh, you have this disorder, so you will be admitted to a psychiatric hospital for like 3-5 years or for the rest of your life. They are usually not just like go under supervision in their houses.
I need. I'm not an expert on what happened in that story, but this is what I read somewhere. Another question I wanted to ask you in this topic, which slipped, so maybe you're gonna move to something else. How would the popularization of psychiatric help affect Algerian society? So before we go to the question, I just remember the first question, which is, so some people go to psychiatrists or psychologists, I'm not sure, and they end up with a bunch of medicines which they take.
Yes.
Right. So some say that it is better to, like, whatever problem you have, it's because of your surroundings, because of your life. If you change your life, if you improve your life, you're gonna be cured. So what do you think about that?
So there is this big misconception about the sources of disorders. A lot of them are hereditary or genetic. If let's say your mother or your dad has a specific disorder like OCD, then there's a big chance that you will develop OCD. So it's not truly the environment, it could also be genetics. And there are specific disorders that cannot be managed without the meds. So as a psychologist, when a patient comes to me that has a very severe case of psychosis, so there are two types. There are neurosis, so which is depression, anxiety, and there is psychosis, which is schizophrenia and the disorders that resemble schizophrenia. So when a patient that has schizophrenia comes to me, I would direct them to a psychiatrist because they do need meds to control the symptoms. And if they do not take the meds, their cases would just get worse and worse and worse, and they might lead to suicide.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Still, I saw a lot of cases where some people's lives are completely horrible. They live in a really horrible environment. They had really bad education. There are only negative people around them, etc. And they don't travel as well. and then suddenly they go to a psychologist, and they suddenly fix themselves with meds, so they basically become numb. I saw this in my family, I saw this in friends, so they numb themselves with medicine. So is it still the best thing to do for them?
It truly depends, because a patient can, well, when the case is not severe, when the case does not require meds, a patient can choose to, well, they can talk to the psychiatrist. It's the one that gives med. They can talk to the psychiatrist, and they could tell them, hey, I don't want to be on meds anymore. Give me other options, because there are other options.
Shouldn't the psychologist think about this first?
It truly depends on who the patient is seeing first. Because some patient could have something, let's not say superficial, but something not as severe as schizophrenia.
Okay.
So they would go for let's say anxiety, social anxiety, and they would go to the psychiatrist first. It would give them med, but they don't know that there are other options like psychotherapy or cognitive behavioral therapy. They could get out of psychologist. So they could stop the meds, but it truly depends on the case. Some people truly need it, and the ones that don't, they have other options.
Okay, I see. So let's talk about Algerian society. Right. I feel like we do have a pandemic of PTSD. Well,
Yes.
pandemic, I'm not sure if I should
Absolutely.
call it pandemic, but we do have a lot of cases of PTSD. Actually, I've gotten used to seeing a lot of strange behavior from lots of people around me, and then with time, when I got acquainted with the concept of PTSD, I was like, what if
It
like
makes
these
sense.
people, yes, and then I start hearing stories about these people going through horrible things. So, and I'm talking like in general, would if going to a psychologist be more popular in Algeria, would it improve? How would it improve society, or how would it change society in
So,
general? What do you think about that?
When it comes to PTSD, we're talking about traumas. We're not talking about the other disorders that Algerians have, because they do have a lot.
Oh my God! Yeah.
We're talking about PTSD. There are a lot of techniques, but there is one technique that is very popular. It's called EMDR. It's eyes motion, but I don't know the exact term because I'm not specialized in this therapy. So there is EMDR, and it's very popular in Algeria, and it doesn't include meds at all. It is this therapeutic technique that you do with a psychologist. It lasts for a couple of sessions, say a couple of months or so, and it would help with the PTSD. So they don't actually need meds in certain cases like these. But yes, it would help if Algerians go more to a psychologist or a therapist. It would help them greatly, but it is seen as taboo, and they still think that only crazy people go to a psychologist.
Okay, but we're still seeing more and more people go to psychologists. Actually, I am considering seeking how do you say, psychology help?
Psychological help.
Psychological help, there you go. Yes. Just for the experience, actually, I want to know how that would affect my life or behavior, etc., etc. All right. So
Wait, before we go into something else, you would not actually see any change until there's months and months of therapy that have passed.
of
So,
course, but
yeah,
still,
one session or two.
months and months is still better than 20 years.
That's true.
Yeah, it's still better than waiting for the whole generation that lived those horrible things
That's true,
to
because
die.
there's people that think, oh, one session is just going to cure me, and it's not true. 2 sessions are not going to cure you either.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. All right, so next question. So we're going through difficult times, right? And I'm referring to what's happening in Gaza.
Yes.
Okay, so a lot of people tell me that they prefer looking at disturbing photos and videos on the internet rather than censoring them. And they say that what they say is they feel bad for not even looking, like they feel too privileged to be able to avoid looking at what's happening.
Guilty.
They feel guilty, exactly. So, first of all, is it like, what would you recommend? As someone, like, you have to understand the context here. We're not going.
Give me a
for
situation.
Yeah, a situation is people need to understand what's happening.
Yes.
So they want to be aware of what's happening like on the ground, right, as if they were there. But at the same time, they might inflict themselves PTSD through their phone screens. So I don't know, as an Algerian, what's your position on that?
Look, I cannot, or we cannot, no one can actually force people to not look at these images. But I do not recommend it. Because not only are adults seeing it, but also teenagers and also children. It is, yes, it's true that we have to acknowledge what is happening, and we can acknowledge it without actually harming ourselves more and more.
Yes.
We can like spread awareness about what's happening without going through the traumatizing experience of seeing these pictures. I've had people, on my page.
Excuse me, your microphone is way too far from
All
you.
right, do I do this?
Yeah, could you yeah. All right.
Better?
A bit better.
All
right, great.
So I said I've had people come to me on my page and they were like, Hind, I'm crying every night. I cannot go to sleep because I keep having these images in my mind and I cannot stop looking at them. It becomes like an obsession. Every time it comes up on your feed, and also we know how algorithms work. The more you look at it, the more it's going to come up on your feed. So it's not good. It's not recommended. It's going to stay with you for a very long time. But some people think that it's a good thing that it's going to stay with them for a long time because they want to remember the cruel things that Israel is doing.
Yeah.
Yes, but psychologically speaking, these images are not going to be good for you in the long term. Like they are already making you cry every night. You already feel super guilty about not sharing everything that comes up on your feed. It becomes as a compulsion to share every little bad image that comes up. But a lot of other people are going to see it, and it's going to be a trigger. It's going to trigger also people's PTSD that had nothing to do with the war.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do not recommend it personally.
Yeah. Another subject that I see come up a lot is what kind of psychological help would the children of Gaza need now? Is there
a good question.
Could they be helped?
Yes, they could be helped, but not. The damage is already done. There's not much because you could help them now, but they're still living there. They're going to experience these damages again and again and again until they meet their fate.
Yeah.
But the good thing is there are so many websites that offer volunteer. So you could volunteer as a psychologist to provide help for children and women and men that are already in that particular situation. So we could do that. But like the long-term effects, they're already written in their fate. We cannot change them.
Yeah.
They can only be changed if they actually escape what they're living, escape the war. And it's going to take years and years and years of therapy. But for now, we can show our appreciation through spreading awareness, through, donating to charity, donating to every website that is offering help. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I always forget the question I was gonna ask. Yes, we move on from war. I wanna ask you about. So this is something that I am noticing more and more. So I see it in myself, but I see it way more in other people. And then I recently watched a video about this subject, and I realized that it was actually a worldwide thing, which is loneliness. So I actually 2 days ago I watched a video which title is "We Are the Loneliest Generation." So is there really a loneliness epidemic? So I know that there are some people who are talking about a loneliness epidemic in the United States, in Japan. In Japan, I think at some point they had a Ministry of Loneliness, something like that, because they were having too many suicides due to people feeling lonely. Especially after COVID. So do you think we have the same thing here in Algeria?
So before we get to that, I want to know your definition of loneliness.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're alone. Sometimes you're with people, but loneliness is not being able to connect with your environment or with yourself. It's for me, it's a bit difficult to define. However, I can look it up on a dictionary. Loneliness. Maybe it's gonna help us.
Yeah.
Loneliness. So loneliness is sadness because one has no friends or company.
Yes.
I think this is fine.
Is this something you relate to? Like, is this the term that you actually relate to?
I think so. Although it must be specified that you could be your own friend. Like, for example, if you go on a long adventure on your own and you have decided to do that, you are your own friend and you're talking to yourself and you're connecting with yourself, and that's fine, and you don't feel loneliness. Sometimes you're surrounded by friends, yet you feel extremely lonely. And I see this, a lot of people tell me about this.
That's true.
Yeah.
I've seen it in others as well. I do think, though, being your friend is only a short-term kind of thing, because we are social beings by nature.
Yeah.
We need to socialize. It is in our nature. We need to have friends around.
Yeah.
So having yourself as a friend, it will only work for like 1 or 2 years, and then you would feel like you're missing something. But this loneliness pandemic that we're talking about, I think, and this is my hypothesis, I think it truly is related to social media. Everything is on social media. If you want to talk to a friend, you have to text them, and then you have to wait for a text. You have to call them. And if you want to be friends with someone, you have to find their social media account. You have to follow them on there. You have to wait for the appropriate time to actually ask. You have to plan something, and planning never actually comes up because you're doing everything on social media. But I mean, back in let's say in the 80s or 90s, I mean, yes, there was internet, but people were more social. If you wanted to meet a friend, you would just go to his house. You would knock on the door and ask if he's there. If girls wanted to meet with each other, they would just wait at the place they usually meet at. So a restaurant, they know they're gonna meet there every Thursday at 5 p.m. We don't have that anymore because everything is related to social media. And there is a lot of social media pressure as well. You are seeing everyone in your Instagram stories being with friends and having fun and being happy, and you're like, why can't that be me?
That's FOMO.
Yeah. So basically, I do blame social media. And I do think that Algerians feel less lonely than other populations because we still have the traditions and habits of the family and meeting.
We still have bad smartphones compared to other countries.
Yeah.
Right. But I still, I have another hypothesis. I think social media has a lot to be blamed for. However, I still feel like we haven't. Whenever there is economic issues, there is loneliness comes out of that. Another thing I wanted to ask you about actually is the fact that we're getting married way later than our parents. So at my age, my parents had already had me. And this is the case, I think, for everyone I know. Right. And I have a school. A lot of people come to me, people of the previous generation, telling me about their children who are more or less my age, and they tell me they don't want to get married. All they want to do is go abroad. And I'm like, yeah, of course, because the situation here is very bad. They tell me about the fact that they have difficulty finding a job, that maybe if they learn languages they might have better chances at finding a job, and maybe then they could have more money, which would lead to them getting married. But I still think in today's environment, economical environment, going out is something expensive. What else? Meeting people can be expensive. Going on dates.
Getting married is expensive.
Let alone, I'm saying going on dates is expensive. Let alone getting married and buying a house or renting a house and raising kids. So what effect do you think the fact that people are getting married later, how does that affect our mental health, our collective mental health?
I think before we go into the marriage thing, I think it's a big chain that we need to start from the beginning. Yeah,
excuse me. When I say marriage, I mean building a family.
Yes, everything. Kids, a house. Yeah. I get you. So we need to start from the beginning. Is it good?
It's good.
All right. Perfect, so we need to start from the beginning. people have this misconception about marriage, and it's based of society pressure.
Okay.
Everyone says that you need around 200 millions to get married. You need to buy 3 sheep, and you need to sacrifice your soul. And, you know, and there's a big stigma around it. But in reality, you don't have to do all that. Even in religion, like, you don't have to have a big wedding for 200 people. You could just do a small gathering and you could get married.
Actually, a few years ago, I dated someone, and we talked about this subject, and she was telling me about how she envisions her marriage or her wedding day. And I told her, like, I would rather spend the money on other things rather than on the wedding day itself. And she said, "You're not gonna take this from me, are you?" Like Like it is a dream for a lot of girls. It is a dream for a lot.
And a lot of guys as well.
Yeah.
The big marriage and inviting 250 people. And,
yes.
But it's not actually necessary. You don't have to do all that to get married. You don't have to live. You don't have to build your own house from scratch to get married. You don't have to.
Yes. Also, cousins got married a few years ago as well. And I remember, like, while planning the marriage, the pressure of finding like cortege, like a lot of cars driving together. Like, we need to find more cars. Who do you know who has cars, etc.
Yeah, and then it's just one person.
Oh my God! Yeah,
you need to find la salle. You need to find hotel. You need to find the food. You need to choose the dresses, and but it's not necessary. We're putting this pressure on ourselves. We don't have to do all that to achieve a good relationship with a husband or wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can just. People could just get married. They could have small little dinner with the two families, and then they would just go to their respected homes. They, you know, a rented apartment. And this, since we talked about economy, it also includes marrying someone that they can provide for you as well.
Yeah.
Both financially.
Yeah.
You know, in the 60s and 50s, and so we were.
Maybe only the man was provider.
Exactly. We were relying on that idea that the man is the provider that provides the financial support, and the woman is the one that provides care and affection and everything that is related to house chores. But we cannot do that anymore. Like in this economy, we have to be both the financial providers.
Yeah.
So I think if people marry to people that also work, you can achieve everything you want. It is hard though.
Yeah, it is hard. There's also another problem. It's people who get into a really advanced age and fail to meet someone they would like to marry. I see this in women as well as men. So my question to you is, how do you think we could, because a lot of my friends tell me, like, hey, we go to friends meeting events, like events that are they are made to just meeting friends and like making connections, and they fail to make long-term connections. These people go on dates. They have lots of stories. These people go, I don't know, they do lots of activities just to meet friends, and they still fail to meet friends. So what do you think is the problem? So they fail to meet friends, and they also fail to meet a partner. Yeah.
Yes. Do you think it's related to expectations?
Could be.
What do you think? What is your opinion about it?
I think. So this is my male point of view. So it's not. When I thought about this, it's maybe because of my own personal experience, but I saw this with females as well as males when it comes to friends as well as dating. I saw that people are like when they start hanging out with someone, they can't wait to receive things from them.
So it is expectations.
He's gonna pay for dinner because he's the man, or a guy, he's like, hey, can you come to my house? Can you pick me up? Can you do?
Because I'm doing this for you. So
no, because I'm your friend. So like entering into a friendship, I feel like a lot of people expect to receive things, and when I say things, it could be physical things as well as other stuff. And I haven't dated a lot of women, so I can't like speak about that. But I do have experience with women expecting a lot in return of just dating you.
Yeah. Okay,
so So I don't know about other guys' experiences, but yeah, I've seen that.
For the friendship part, I don't think you can call it friendship. People are looking for beneficial relationships. They're looking for person that they can leash into and get all the benefits, and also they would benefit the other person as well. It's not truly a friendship. A friendship, well, it truly depends. Like, I would define a friendship as someone who's there for me mentally, and I'm there for them, and we always meet and have fun and stuff. Like, truly, like, what do you define a friendship as?
Friendship?
Yeah.
Huh.
What do you consider a friend? When does it stop? When
It's
does a person stop becoming
someone
a
I
friend?
like spending time with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Is that
That's
the only
it.
condition?
To me, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's already a lot.
So for you to find that person, you also need, the person needs to have the same mentality as you. They can't
Yeah.
have the mentality, oh, I want this person to give me stuff so I can benefit from. And this is really rare because, as I said, a lot of people are just looking for beneficial relationship, even in relationships as well. So when, you cannot make friends as an adult. It's really hard. You have to stick to the friends you've made as a kid. And you can't let them go.
So if you moved, you're screwed.
It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be really hard because you're gonna have work friends, and then you're gonna realize once you stop working there, they're gonna stop being your friend.
Yes.
Same thing with school friends. Once you stop going to school, they're also gonna stop being your friend. So these friendships are conditioned by a location or a factor or something, and once the factor goes away or you go away, the relationship or the friendship would go away as well. So for you to find a friend, you just need to keep trying and trying again and again, and to put yourself out there until you find that one person that fits your standards. Yeah, so it is about expectations.
Yeah. Actually, while putting together questions for this podcast, I ended up looking up on YouTube the keyword "I have no friends," and I found a lot of videos with millions and millions of views of just people on a camera saying, "Look, I have no friends because all the friends I had in school, they went their separate ways." And then now, like, I work in a quite lonely environment, so I don't have time to make friends, etc. And that's also, we talked about the economical issues. Some people were saying that because it's more difficult to rent a house, because it's more difficult to make a living, we end up spending more time working than socializing. And when we're finished, we go home and just to rest. So I actually spent a few years working in Algiers, and I've actually experienced that. Like, you work from 8 to 5, and after 5, you just completely destroyed. You want to just go home and rest. I remember what I did is I met a couple of friends who became my friends for a few years, and then we went our separate ways anyway. But how did I meet them is I went to my boss and I told him, hey, I have to go to the military to do a check and whatnot. I need the afternoon off. And he gave me the afternoon off, and I went to meet these two friends.
You had to lie your way.
I had to lie my way in order to socialize a little bit. And I don't regret it. So I think that's about. But as I told you, I remember something that really hit me. We were camping, and this friend of mine told me, "How do you meet a girl?" He said, "I went to so many randonnées. I went to so many clubs. I joined clubs. I did this. I met people online. I did this and I did that." Like, is this? And I wanted to blame him. I want to tell him, like, you're just too fixated on your own misery. But at the same time, like, I don't know, like.
But there must be something. I mean, if they're actively searching for someone, which I'm also assuming they are talking to people.
Yeah.
They are having situationships, as we know them. Like, you talk to someone for a couple of weeks, and then you decide if they're dateable or not.
Yeah.
So they are having situationships, I'm assuming, right? What is the thing?
It's a good assumption to have.
Yeah. What is the thing that is stopping the other person from pursuing a relationship with your friend? Or what does your friend have as standards or expectations from the other person that they are not providing for him? which makes him not pursue the other person's
So-
relationship.
I don't wanna like spill the beans because these
I
are
would
people
love
who
you to
listen
spill
to
the beans like a
Yeah, but a lot of them are people who have different ideologies than
All right.
most of society. So I have this friend who told me like he's an atheist, but he doesn't do drugs and drink and stuff
Of
like
course,
that.
that has nothing to do.
Yeah, but the problem is whenever he meets atheists, they're always alcoholics. They're always-
I see. I mean, I can see that.
That is
line.
on.
I have atheist friends as well,
Yeah.
and they fall on both ends of the spectrum. Some of them are like very moral, and some of them are, they drink and stuff. But it has nothing to do with atheism or not.
Yeah, he actually told me that he's considering like adopting religion again,
So he
just
can
in
get
order to, just he could get laid.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think that would work for him.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
told him no, stay out of
Yeah, that would
religion.
work for him, yeah. But is he pursuing people, like, let's say he's an atheist, is he pursuing other atheists to be his friends? Does he have, like, a
So
broad
what he
range?
told me is all the atheists that he met, do what he considers to be immoral things.
All right.
So he can't really have a deep or close relationship with them, which is something I understand. Like, I don't know, like if you're not into drugs, you're not gonna have friends who are into drugs.
That's
It's
true.
very you are going to have maybe friends, but you're not gonna have a
Acquaintances.
partner.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
acquaintances.
Yes. So yeah. Also, when you talked about situations, this is a very interesting thing about guys. A lot of people that I know, friends of mine, like they tell me that they have a girlfriend, but then I find them following a bunch of girls. Like, where are you going with this? Like, what are you trying to do?
I think it's still a relationship in their head. It's not a situationship.
No, it's still a relationship in their head, but at the same time, like, are you like fully committed, or are you considering other options still?
I think we need to talk about what do people consider as cheating.
Yeah.
Certain people in a relationship, if you like another person's picture, they consider that as cheating.
What do you think about that?
It depends on, I mean, if they both think it's cheating, then it's their thing.
What if one of them only thinks it's cheating and the other thinks it's no big deal?
That's where a problem could evolve.
Yeah,
Because one of them needs to compromise. One of them needs to sacrifice these ideologies for the other
One of
person.
them needs to, because a friend, so this is, I think, in 2017, I'm very old, so I have memories from, so this girl told me that the reason she's single is because her ex-boyfriend cheated on her, and I was like, wow, he cheated on you?
That's just one person out of millions and billions.
What do you mean?
I mean, a lot of girls and guys, of course, they have they get traumatized from the fact that someone cheated on them, so they stay off relationships for like a very long time.
Yeah, that's what happened actually. But the problem is, when I asked her, what did he specifically do? And I really thought he impregnated another girl.
Yeah.
But no, he just talked to someone else.
What did he talk about though?
I'm sure it's not sexting.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know. I'm not sure whether it was flirting or not.
Mm-hmm.
But to call it cheating the same way other people in other situations call what happened to them cheating, that's like, cheating is when you have built a life with someone and they go impregnate someone else, or they like, or they have all your like, because of what happened, because of the cheating, you're taking care of someone else's child, someone else's biological child. So this is
That's your limit.
No, that's not my limit.
That's your boundary.
But I think there's a difference between that cheating and the teenage kind of cheating where like your boyfriend speaks to someone else.
Would you consider it a betrayal then?
It depends. It depends.
Let me give you a situation, right?
Go ahead.
Let's say you're in a 5 years long-term relationship.
Yeah, this is why I have a podcast, is to have psychological help. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to put an experience on it. So you're in this relationship for 5 years. Mm-hmm. You're about to marry this person. You love this person. And they love you. She loves you. And one day you randomly go through her phone, accidentally. You accidentally go through her phones. And you find text messages of her flirting with another guy. Like, they are planning to go on a date, but they haven't done it yet. It's just on text. They want to go on a date. He's telling her, "You're beautiful." She's telling him, "Ah, thank you. I find you attractive as well." Do you consider this cheating?
Over. Yeah.
Is it over?
Yeah, it is. It's not betrayal, but it's not cheating. I wouldn't consider that. I wouldn't consider this cheating, but I would consider this a huge red flag.
Yeah.
Yes, but then again, it depends. Like, if we're about to get married and like we have figured out everything and this is happening, yeah, I understand. But I would like to consider this like to be over. Like, this is a huge. But if we're going through rocky phase, and like we're on and off, and I don't know, like our perspective, like our future is not clear, and she's flirting with another guy, that's like a little bit more understandable.
But like, everyone should have standards and principles. I mean, if you engage with someone, you are swearing yourself to commit to that person, and just that person.
But there's another thing with Algerian couples, at least with Algerian couples,
we're talking about Algerian couples.
which is you as
they
soon
are
as
filled with and red flags.
It's not just red flags. It's like concepts. Like, as soon as you start dating someone, they assume that you are completely committed to them, without ever talking about the future. Like, this is like the first date, second date maybe. To them,
it's the wife or husband. It's after 1 week. Like,
yeah. Like a lot of, at least because I don't really talk about these kind of things with men, because I'm a man. Men, we don't talk at all.
Which you should, though.
Well, yeah, we don't.
But you should.
Yeah, I know. But actually, one of my best friends recently, and this is like, we've been friends for like 15 years. We passed by in a neighborhood here in Blida, and I told him, yeah, this is where I grew up. And he was like, what? I swear. We're like, this is where you grew up? Yeah, I told him I came here, like I came to Joinville in like in the 2000s, but like the 90s, my first 10 years of my life, I spent them in this completely different neighborhood. And he was like, wow, I had no idea.
And you
we should talk
have
more.
No idea about the stuff that he goes through.
Yeah, like he told me, whenever we meet, he realized that whenever we meet, we talk about politics and about stuff. No, we talk about geopolitics. We don't talk about each other. So we know nothing about each other. But yeah, so...
but you know, I'll stop you right there. That could be related to why a lot of people feel lonely.
Absolutely, absolutely.
They're not really connecting on the emotional level.
Yeah. So this girl told me, I think she told me something that a lot of girls think. I don't know if guys think this.
Let me confirm it for you.
Yeah, go ahead. So what she told me is, as soon as she starts dating someone, she becomes their wife. Like, there's an instinct inside of her brain that she turns into the wife. Like, all the like whatever roles the wife would have, she assumes it. Like, she would check whether her partner.
So it's kind of an act of service.
Something like that. Like, she would care about him as if he's her husband. She would love him as if he's her husband. She would like check up on whether he had eaten or not, as if he's her husband.
But that's good, no? Is it not good?
I think it's a bit premature.
How so?
I think there's like a phase that a lot of Algerians skip, which is, let's hang out. Like, right. let's like get to know each other. It's okay to flirt, but we're mostly friends here. Like, there's no actual contract between us. And
I do think it's a sex thing. I do think it's a gender-related thing, because... Is it good?
Don't worry,
okay.
yeah.
All right. So I do think it's a gender-related thing, because as women, as girls, we are wired differently than you guys.
Okay.
In other words, we learn how to love and how to take care of others from a very young age, but you don't. It's not wired in you. A lot of men, when they get into relationships, they learn how to love another person all over again. Yeah. Exactly. It's like they're learning new things. Like, oh, I'm supposed to get you flowers? Like, yes, you are supposed to give me flowers, you know? But women, they are born with it. They're born with that kind of affection. And it isn't really wife behavior. It's just like it's just a love that girls just have, and they want to give it to the person they're with, and it comes naturally to them.
Can't they wait a little bit?
Can they?
I mean, they could give love.
I'm assuming it scares you.
No, it's not that it scares me. There's a huge set of expectations from giving love. Like what I mean is, if you could give like a little bit of love to show just appreciation and to show your interest in the other person, but then commit fully when it is time to commit fully, not 2 weeks after meeting that person.
When do you think it's time to commit fully?
I think it's
after a year. Is it
I think it's time when you really have a deep conversation about the future, and when you realize that there is actually a light at the end of the tunnel. If you see what I mean. Well, this is because a lot of couples have actually figured themselves out, etc., even though they did not have deep conversations about the future, etc., etc. But a lot of other couples, so these people,
go into it blindly.
They go into it blindly, and they give everything, but then one of them has an opportunity to go abroad. So what happens?
Yes.
Do you see what I mean? Or one of them suddenly meets the perfect person for them because they were compromising with this other person. But then suddenly they met. So what do? They break up, and they're like that other person has put so much effort already into a long distance relationship. So yeah, abroad at a young age they can still live with each other. This is less the case here. Well, it's almost not the case here.
Oh, you could get arrested for it, I think.
You could. No, you don't get arrested for it per se. You could have like
complaints from neighbors,
but they would find excuses, not like the fact that you live with another adult. Yeah, that's not the problem. At least legally, it's not the problem. They would find they would tell you that you make noise and things like that. Yeah. So yeah, it's not accepted in society, and I think even people wouldn't do that. Men and women, they wouldn't start living with someone else.
It's a big
even
commitment.
Though, yeah, it is a big commitment. But then, they give each other the kind of love that a family bounded people would do. I don't know, I feel like we skip a big phase, which is let's go on dates, let's I don't know, let's see how each other are, let's get to know each other, and we're not committed, we haven't promised each other anything for a long time before we actually do.
But I think when I've seen it in a lot of girls,
yeah.
This is what I know from my friends, what they tell me, and what I've seen from my male friends as well.
Yeah.
It's yes, the girl is given everything from the beginning, and she doesn't stop. And even once the guy is committed, after 3 years, he is still not giving back the same efforts she's given him.
So something else I might add is Rabbi Ma'akum, guys are jerks. No, seriously. I hear some stories, I'm thank God I'm a guy, I don't need to find a man.
Exactly.
Yeah. That is the case. Sometimes I look at myself and I hope I'm not a jerk. But yeah, when I hear stories wow, some men just are getting things that they don't deserve.
But this goes back to what I said earlier. It is the fact that us women, we learn how to take care of others from a very young age, and men, they don't. They still think, a lot of men, and I've seen it firsthand with my friends, they think being mean to a woman is going to get them a woman.
Yeah, this is, I haven't gotten married, but my best friend got married, and a colleague told him, you need to beat her the first day. Yeah, this is this is his advice.
Wait, beat her physically?
Beat her physically the first day.
day?
Yeah. He said, if you don't do that, you're
beat
fucked
her
for
into
the rest
submission
of...
so she does not cheat on you, she does not
So she doesn't complain in the future, so she doesn't act up, so she doesn't I don't know, do things.
Oh, I feel bad for the guy's wife, the one who said...
Yeah, and a lot of people's wives. Also...
it's very normalized.
It's very normalized. Also, one thing I discovered through him, which is now he got married, he started to have an active sex life, and he started not comparing, but seeking advice or looking at other people, and turns out a lot of couples, at least in the surrounding area, have a very, very, very unhealthy sex life, like almost non-existent.
As married couples.
As married couples.
Yes.
And well, according to my best friend's analysis, it is because of the men. It's not because of the woman.
I think it's both.
I don't know. I don't know.
As
a man, like there's nothing that should stop you. I don't know.
I believe it's both because they don't see it as something they can enjoy. They see it as just something they have to do as an obligation. Women see it as an obligation. A lot of women.
He actually had some of his colleagues told him, "You will see after a few weeks, you'll go back to porn."
Yeah. Because I think it's also it has everything to do with culture and how women are raised. They are raised that when you get married, you have to let your husband do whatever he wants to you, so you could keep him happy, and so he doesn't
cheat on you
or like kick you out or something. And this is something that goes back to like
when
the
she was
50s
2 years old, she was told do it.
No, but it's true, I don't know if it happens now, but it's something that still carries on for the generations that we know. It's like, you have to do everything, you have to let him do what he wants, or else you're gonna regret it. He's gonna cheat on you, he's gonna kick you out, he's gonna create problems, he's gonna take away money or something, So a lot of women see it as an obligation, and that's why there is like this big problem. And I think it all goes back to culture and how we were raised.
Yeah. Also, this is something I discovered since I was like a teenager. So this female friend of mine, told me that sex is good because you get your pleasure and we are alleviated from our pain, from our monthly pain.
Oh yeah, that does happen.
But then I was like, and you don't get your pleasure? And this dictates a lot of things in the relationship. Like, I think this is cultural, but I think in a lot of couples, the woman is just giving a service to the man.
Yeah.
And in exchange,
definitely.
And she's not receiving any pleasure from doing that. And in exchange, the man provides.
You know why? They see it, the fact that the woman, like in a marriage, the fact that she has a house with her husband, the fact that he's given her, like, I'm talking about like traditional marriages. I'm talking about those couples where the wife doesn't work and she just raises the kids. Because in their head, in the woman's head, it's like, my husband is giving me a place to live in. He's given me like money to buy groceries. Mm-hmm. He's given me money to buy clothes, and he provides me with like affection,
safety,
and
security.
In their head that this is enough, and it's not, it doesn't. The bar is so low, it doesn't even hit the bare minimum, and they think that this is enough, so I will let him do whatever he wants.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, why don't women think about their own satisfaction?
I think they're scared.
They're scared.
Yes, because there's a lot of stigma around it. They don't want to talk about their needs. There is like this big thing that women cannot talk about their needs with men, because one thing, they know that they might get ignored. Like, women would tell a man, hey, I want you to do this and this would make me happy, and the man would just ignore it. They wouldn't consider it.
Yes, but here's the thing that surprises a lot of women is that men get more pleasure by a woman who's receiving pleasure. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So we have like a lot of pride and satisfaction comes from the fact that
it's an
our
ego
partner.
thing.
Well, it has a lot to do with that, but as well as other things.
It's
also the fact that you're happy to give.
Yeah, that's true.
If you see what I mean.
But I see it a lot. I see it in a lot of couples. Mm-hmm. I want to specialize in couple therapy. I think it's kind of cool. So I see it in a lot of couples where one of them, they show love, but they don't show love let me give you an example. You're dating somebody, and they are showing you love in so many ways, in like so many ways that you don't recognize as love. So they're cooking for you, but for you this is not an act of love. And from your side, you're buying them jewelry, but to them it's not an act of love.
Oh, this is a completely dysfunctional couple.
Yeah, so in both your heads, you're like, no, this person doesn't love me. I feel so unloved, even though there are so many actions. And this all goes back to the way you show love. So as you said, there are people that get pleasure from giving to others, and that is just one type of love that couples can give to each other. But not everyone has it.
Oh, yeah. There's another thing I want to talk about is that I've had this conversation with a lot of my friends, male and female. And I told them, like, I see less and less value in marriage, in of itself. I forgot the expression, but yeah. So what they told me is, as a man, you'll have someone who cooks for you and who cleans the house for you. And I was like,
you could get a maid.
I can cook.
And you could get a maid.
I could get one of those robots that cleans the house like this.
It's called,
So I can do my own bed. Like, this is not, and this is what a lot of female.
Order food, like.
I can order food, and I'm a great cook. Personally, I'm a good cook. Like, I like my own cooking. So a lot of females put themselves on the market as they can clean and they can do the bed and they can like take care of the house, when it's not actually that much of a difficult job, and it can be helped with actually a maid in Algeria is really, really cheap.
But I think that's a you thing. You can cook, you can clean, but a lot of
I think people who marry other people just because they can cook and they can clean are getting the shorter end of the stick.
That's true in one way, but also it all goes back to parents, like men who want to marry someone who can cook and take care of them and stuff, because they are so used to it by their own moms.
Yeah.
You know, like a mom is like it's like she has a kid, she has a boy. She has to clean for him. She cleans his socks. He can do it himself. Like the guy is 25 and she's still like
doing his bed,
goes to his house and make his bed, clean his room. He can do it himself. He should learn to do it himself. And these men will grow up to have this mentality that I need a woman to cook for me and clean for me, and that is my only criteria for marriage.
Which is so. This is why we need to teach like male children to boys to clean for themselves and to wash their clothes, etc. It's very important. Anyway, so I want to talk to you about social media. So recently I did something with my own social media life. I limited my social media use to 1.5 hours
a day. That is great.
That is great.
That is great. That is awesome.
Okay, I thought that was already a lot.
Well, I think I've searched about it. They say that you should spend half an hour on social media a day.
That's why I decided to put it. At first, I thought half an hour is already a long time.
Yeah, but don't think of it that way.
Yeah, then I realized I kept exceeding it.
There's
so I
like
put
24 hours in a day. I mean,
yeah,
half an hour in your phone. That's too little.
Yeah, but it's good. Well, I ended up doing almost 2 hours a day every day. But that's still like a lot. I didn't know that I was like doing 2 hours a day
what are you
of
doing
social
on
media.
Social media?
Really nothing. That's the thing.
No, but let's break it down. Are you checking your emails?
I'm texting friends. So the first thing is
Okay,
I'm
so
texting friends.
Texting friends, right?
Texting friends. So sometimes I post my own stuff.
All right.
So I have to wait for the app to finish uploading, etc. It's not really a job. This is like the podcast is not really a job.
Yes,
but
it's a hobby.
But yeah, it's a hobby. So yeah. Excuse me a moment.
All right. It's all right.
Anyway. So yeah,
we were breaking them down.
I was breaking that down. So it's a lot of scrolling, it's a lot of meme consumption, and and it's a lot of sending and receiving reels and memes. Okay. So it's not, sometimes it's not really a conversation. It's just that I have a few people who send me like a ton of reels, and I watch them. You have to respond to them. You have to. We don't respond to each other.
You have to see them. You have to.
I
have to react to them.
The thing is, I usually ignore that. But then I realized that they're sending me really, really good reels. So I ended up not ignoring that as much. But then when I stopped using social media, when I actively tried to stop using social media, socially my life got really boring. Like my second to second living thing, it's like. Yeah, it ended up being my source of a lot of things, my source of entertainment, my source of connecting with friends.
And that's bad.
I don't know if it's bad.
It is, though.
But the thing is, what I want to know is,
yes.
What if... Excuse me?
Yeah.
What if we had no social media? Would I still have the same amount of social interaction?
Yes.
You think so? I don't really think so.
It's not.
This is related to your theory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I looked up whether social media was the beginning of the loneliness epidemic, but at least in the United States, they were talking about a loneliness epidemic in the 70s.
Ooh.
And it was going up. There were statistics of people complaining about this through the 80s and the 90s.
What was the reason, though?
So it's individualism, cultural individualism. People who, instead of thinking about their families, they start thinking of themselves. People becoming...
I'm sorry about that.
You can answer it if you need to.
Okay.
People who become ambitious. So they spend a lot of time with their job or with whatever they want to do or be in life. It's also, I think, urbanization. People living in cities, and the social constructs of cities is not favorable to meet new people. It's not like living in a small village and you know everybody.
Exactly.
Yes.
They can still feel lonely, Tani.
That can feel lonely, but still, like, it's easier to say good morning to someone when he's the only person you saw during this last 5 minutes. But when you keep seeing thousands of people every minute, like, there's no reason to go talk to anyone.
I think we're forgetting one major thing, is that people's personalities is the one thing that actually affects this loneliness. There are extroverts and there are introverts. So an introvert is not going to willingly go to a social event and search for friends, but an extrovert is always at social event. He's probably the coordinator of a social event.
Yeah.
So
unless he lives in a place where there are no social events.
Then he would create his own social events.
Maybe, yeah.
He would invite people. He would find over or something.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like, maybe this is another hypothesis. Maybe this loneliness thing is mostly related to introverts and not extroverts. And it's this personality trait that you cannot truly change unless you force yourself, years of training yourself to be social. But a lot of people are introverts, and some people also have social anxiety. They just cannot talk to people. They are scared of socializing and interacting with others. So maybe all of these factors go into this loneliness thing.
Yeah, but still, the introverted people are not more lonely than extroverted people. This is like the thing. In my own experience, I have met a lot of extroverted people who are completely in a state of emotional catastrophe because of loneliness. So yeah, I forgot why I mentioned this. Yeah, we were talking about social media. So I'm not sure social media is the only thing, but also I want to defend social media a little bit because I think they get a lot of hate from everyone, and I feel like it's also because whenever there's a new technology, people tend to freak out.
Okay.
And this is the case. Like when we look at history, people are really, really scared of books. But then people got really, really scared of like even the telephone.
No, people are scared of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's exactly the same way that people got scared of every other technology that came before it. So I tend to be wary of this, and there's also the term, I think the term is, I have to Google it to make sure I don't mispronounce it. The term is juvenalia, something like this. Juvenoia. Have you heard of it?
I have not, but I have seen a lot of people relying on artificial intelligence to be their friend.
This is another subject I wanted to talk to you about. So juvenoia is the fear of hostility directed by an older generation towards a younger one. So it's when you say people are not the same anymore, people were better before, etc.
It's the whole meme of I wish I lived in another generation.
Yes, the last generation is better, etc. When it's really not. There's also articles that were found in magazines that criticize young people for sending short messages to each other.
Like abbreviated messages.
Like
instead
abbreviated
of text,
messages
they write THX.
instead of like, so they say they're writing each other messages instead of having a normal conversation. And it turns out it was an article from the 1890s about
What
teenage
kind of messages are they sending?
writing them on notes. And
maybe because they're busy.
no, it's not. It's not that. It's children going to schools for the first time.
Yeah.
And they figured out a way to communicate with each other with notes, and it became like a cultural thing among them. And the older generation was criticizing them for that.
But let's decode it for that. The older generation, let's say, they used to write long-ass letters, right?
Yeah.
They used to express themselves. They used to write like a whole article about just to send it to another person, right? But we're talking about different generations and different teaching methods, and the same generation that used to send long messages, long letters, started teaching the next generation.
Yeah.
So they know that between kids, they're going to send messages.
Yes.
So the
it
kids,
becomes normal.
So the generation Limaraha, they're creating new ways,
Yes.
more improved ways,
Yes.
just to send messages. And maybe this is why they abbreviate the messages.
Yeah. Exactly. You mentioned this. I saw a reel yesterday. There's a guy who said, Gen Z, your face tattoo is not going to keep you out of a job. We're going to hire you anyway, because like millennials are so open-minded, and like there's an evolution of things. But anyway, there's something else we need to talk about, which is the evolution of AI. So you've seen the movie Her.
Her?
Yes.
I'm not big into movies.
Oh, you have to watch it.
Not
You
big
go
into
back
movies.
to your house and you watch it. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like. I'm not gonna say you're gonna love it. I'm not gonna up your expectations too much.
I'm not against artificial intelligence. It is so beneficial for me in my work, in my field. I don't use it. I don't know. There are tools for therapists and for psychologists that they use artificial intelligence to write
Which is great.
Referral letters, to write reports, and it's so easy. So people shouldn't be scared of it as much as they are.
So I'm gonna give you an example,
Okay.
a real life story.
Okay.
So this is a woman or a girl whose best friend died in a horrible car accident, and like she used to talk to him 24/7. Like texting him 24/7. Like this is like they were texting each other 24/7, and like this used to be a big chunk of her social interaction in her life, in her daily life. So suddenly there was nobody to talk to because he died. So what did she do? She actually downloaded this app. She uploaded all the textings that she had with her friend into the app. The artificial intelligence analyzed everything.
It's a real story.
It's a real story. And after that, she spent the next 2 to 3 years talking to this avatar who speaks exactly like her best friend, who comes up with new subjects exactly like her best friend, same jokes, same type of jokes as her best friend, etc. There was even in the algorithm the evolution of a person is implemented. Like he would tell her like, now I did this and I learned something new, and like he would talk to her about his new hobby, etc. The same way, if he had still been alive, the same conversations she would have had anyway with him. So what she said is, it helped her a lot with coping. Like, even though she knew it wasn't the real thing, it helped her a lot with coping. From a psychological perspective, is this completely fucked up, or is it actually good?
It depends on the severity of it. So, let's say you create a chat box, you create a bot, right? A bot, and you feed him data about a specific person. And I mean, as I said, there are like friend bots where you talk to them as a friend. So let's say you create a bot and you feed him data about this specific person, and you talk to the person who has died. It will help you with your grief if the person has died, like the case. It will help you with your grief, but it could become an obsession. It could go wrong in so many ways. It has not been studied.
Not studied yet.
It has not been studied. It's something totally new and it's gonna keep evolving. So we have bots and chat bots and stuff, and then after a few years we're gonna have robots of our past lovers or past members that have died.
Yeah.
And
with silicon.
Yeah. So when does it become a problem?
Yeah.
So if you do it for like a few months, and it helps you move on, at some point you have to delete the account. You have to say goodbye to that person you've created. But it could become an obsession. They could keep doing it every day, and it could lead to a lot of problems.
Yeah, you said, when will it become a problem?
Yes.
So we have a science fiction book right here, and I think humanity relies on science fiction to see into the future and to see what's going to happen. I always say that science fiction is like the history of the future. And it is true, like a lot of science fiction books or movies, etc., turned out to be true a few years later. So there's this animated movie called Ghost in the Shell. I think number 2, the second...
is it a Japanese one?
Japanese one,
yeah.
Okay. So in this movie, there was 2 policemen who were into a case of sex robots who would murder their owners or their masters. And this is when it became a problem. This is when like sex robots became when they started committing murders. Like before that, it wasn't a problem. There's also I mentioned the movie Her. In the movie Her, the premise is this guy is going through a breakup. He might divorce his partner. And then what happened is he downloaded this app, and the app turned out to be a great lover, and she had the sexy Scarlett Johansson voice, because Scarlett Johansson was doing the voice acting, and he completely fell in love with the artificial intelligence, etc. And then he met with his partner, with his actual wife, to decide on an arrangement about the divorce. And she like gave him like the benefit of the doubt, like, are you sure you want to do that? And because he was so happy with the artificial intelligence, he was like, yeah. So
how did it end?
It ended by the artificial intelligence told him, yeah, of course I have other lovers. I have millions of other lovers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
And he got completely weirded out, and he realized he was like back to his loneliness. So that's how it ended. But today we're seeing this, like there are men saying that they found the love of their life in an AI. Like this is like the perfect...
Women as well.
Women as well.
I'm not going to generalize, but I've seen people who... they use, the Snapchat artificial intelligence bot.
Yeah.
They just use it as a friend, and then they use it as a lover. Because they lack affection, or they want somebody to love them, so they would tell the AI bot.
Is it different from ChatGPT? Because ChatGPT sounds very professional. I don't think it can like sound like a lover.
It depends. I think there are ways you could like
prompts.
Exactly. Like, can you pretend to be this and this? And I think I've seen it happen in people, where, and also they rely on it for friendship, They would just like use it to talk about their day. Yeah. And they get heard, they get appreciated, they get validated.
It's simulated friendship.
Yeah, but it's really, really harmful.
Yeah, it is harmful.
It is.
How is it harmful?
Because you're isolating yourself from real interactions this is not a real person. I mean, yes, it's good that you're expressing yourself, that you're letting out the emotions and you're talking about your bad day or something.
Yeah.
But that's not a real person.
Wait. So here's the thing about, like, I do believe, or I think, or I have like the tendency of thinking that this is really, really messed up. However, since this is we can call it simulated friendship. Have you heard of sim racing? Like racing cars, but in the computer.
Like a game, like a video game?
Like a video game,
All right.
right?
Yeah.
So it became a whole discipline. And today we're at a time where racing drivers always come from being sim racing drivers.
Okay.
Because it's so accessible. Like without the video games, they wouldn't be able to have careers or initiate careers in racing and motorsport. So at first it was criticized as just being a game and they should like go out and drive real cars.
Yes.
But just because a lot of these people didn't have access at first to real cars, they spent their teenage years training anyway.
That's
in their
That's true.
simulation. So what my question is, and today it became normal. Like today, if you watch a Formula One race, the commentator talks about his sim racing experience, etc. So this was unheard of 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it was a joke. So the thing is, what if today is 20 years ago? What if today these people are actually finding a way to help themselves? Like it's better to simulate friendship rather than actually not having friendship anyway.
Yeah, but as we've talked before, we're social beings by nature. I mean, it's gonna make you feel good for a while, and then you're gonna feel lonely, and then you're gonna feel like there's something lacking. You're gonna start losing friends as well because you're putting all of your attention on a fictional artificial being. You're giving all the attention to that being. You're only talking to that being. You're realizing that that being is better than your actual friends. So you start leaving your actual friends.
Which he is on so many levels.
Let's theoretically speaking, yes, a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's not good because you're gonna leave your other friends. It's the same thing with the story that you've told me. He thought that the artificial intelligence person was the love of his life, and then he just got shocked and traumatized, and he's back to being lonely. So it's gonna happen. Like, let's think about these people that use artificial intelligence as friends. What are they gonna become after 20 years?
The artificial intelligence will know them better.
No, themselves, like personally. What will they achieve socially?
Socially, maybe this is my case.
Yes.
Well, it's not really my case, but this is what I like. What if they wouldn't have achieved things socially anyway? We know so many people from the older generation who ended up alone. Do you know the Beatles?
Yes.
They have a song, "All the Lonely People." Where do they all come from? Right. It's Paul McCartney like realizing that so many people in the world are completely lonely, and they have no one to take care of. Like so many suicide cases. After people commit suicide, the people who, like the emergency people or whatever, whoever is concerned with taking care of that case, they find no one to call to announce that their supposed loved one or friend has committed suicide. We have cases where, like, I think there was a bombing in the United States, like
of course, it's always in the US
because they're the ones who who speak like But there was a terrorist attack by a Christian fundamentalist something in the United States, and there was, I think, a body that was found, and they kept waiting for someone to ask for that person, and nobody did.
But let's talk about the roots of it. Let me ask you a question. Like when you were a kid, let's say around the time you were 5 years old, were your parents letting you go play outside?
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of friends?
Yes.
Do you still know these friends today?
They're completely different from what I became.
Yes, but do you still know them? Like,
I follow them on Instagram.
Okay. And when you were in middle school, did that help you, like the fact that you were able to go out as a kid and have more friends, did that help you make more friends in middle school?
No, because right before middle school I moved,
Okay.
and
So
I
there is
ended
a
up,
factor.
I ended up in an environment where I got bullied a lot. But then what happened is that as I approached high school, I got a boost in length. I became taller than most people who used to bully me, so I bullied them back.
Okay.
So they did not become my friends. So most people I knew from middle school specifically they're not my friends today.
You guys departed, but let's let me give you two situations. Let's say somebody that was raised with 5 siblings, and that means there's so many cousins.
Yes.
So ever since they were kids, they were socializing because they live with a lot of people. So once they got to primary school, they did not have any problems making friends. Once they got to middle school, even if they got bullied, they knew that they could make friends. If it's not at school, then it's outside. If it's not outside, then it's when they're training, like a sport or something.
Yeah.
If it's not sport, then it's a musical instrument or something, right? And they go into high school with the same mentality. They grow up with the same mentality that they can make friends. But let's take another example. Somebody who did not have any siblings or just one sibling, and they didn't have a lot of cousins growing up. And their parents did not let them go out. They did not sign them up for any sport or any musical classes, and even their school was so far away. So once they got to primary school, they couldn't actually talk to anyone because they didn't know how. So the second case, they will grow up to be lonely. The first case will have an easier time once they're adults. Yeah. So it will always go back to how they were raised, to the parents and the family.
So it's a training thing. You need to be used to it, and you need to be trained to do it. Okay, I'm gonna fix the microphone for you because I'm seeing you leaning.
Where were we?
We were talking about social media, but then we stumbled upon AI.
Yes, and then friendships. And
Yes. So do you still think that social media is completely bad?
No.
Or does it have it? Yes.
I think it depends on how you use it. Let's say even if you spend 2 hours a day on social media, let's say you're spending these 2 hours going through your emails, posting educational content, helping people, learning new stuff. Like let's say you spend 2 hours on social media, but you're learning a new programming language. You're learning you're learning a new language. You're using like the apps, like Duolingo or something to learn something new. Is this bad?
No, but then again, also, what about your social life? Could it be better thanks to social media?
Depends on how you use it. I mean, if let's talk about this is kind of a sensitive topic. Let's talk about gamers. Not all of them. I mean, I have nothing against video games. I love video games actually. But let's talk about specific type of gamers that can only feel comfortable talking to people on Discord. They cannot socialize in real life. They can only socialize through video games. Yeah. It is a form of social media, right? Yeah. So it is good for their social interactions, but it's not enough because they're just keeping it in the virtual world, and it needs to go to the real life.
But this is the thing about our social life is that when your dose of social life or socialization comes from video games, at some point the video game ends. And you have to disconnect your computer.
Yes.
And then you're lonely. When you compare it to our parents who are getting their social lives from their own families, you sleep with your family. So there's never goodbye. There's never like a moment of...
But are you interacting with your family? Like most adults right now, it's just, good morning. Yeah. Okay. And then you go have some people have breakfast in their own rooms.
Are a bad example.
And then you would only interact with your family if there is, I'm talking for teenagers mostly and young adults, they mostly interact with their parents or family when there's a problem. The Wi-Fi is down, there's no electricity, there's no water.
But this is because of the adults, it's not because of them.
Yes, that's true.
Of course. Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
But it does affect how they socialize in real life as well.
Yeah. Anyway, so the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is something that I don't know if it's something that naturally happens, if we're made to like deal with, or it's something that's completely unnatural, which is why. So, how to deal with emotional catastrophes, such as losing a lost one, or especially like during a breakup?
Could you give me a situation so I could work with it?
Like we talked about couples who give each other everything they have, etc., and then something happens, like
And they break
one
up.
of them goes abroad,
Yes, yes,
or
yes,
one
yes.
of them like starts becoming uninterested in the relationship, or they disagree on fundamental things such as cheating, what is considered cheating, and they part away, and then you find one of them or both of them in a complete emotional catastrophe, like they're not okay.
They will be both in a complete catastrophe, except there's a delay in the timing.
Huh.
Because some people, let's say you experience a breakup. You broke up with somebody yesterday. Today you're completely fine. You're actually happy. But are you truly happy? It's a form of denial. You have not grasped what actually happened yet. You don't think it actually happened. You can't actually believe that it actually happened.
Yeah.
So you could spend months in denial, and then one day you just break down.
Oh,
And
yeah.
even
yeah.
if it's like months apart, like you think you have forgotten about the relationship. You don't think about the person anymore, and then one day it will all comes back, you know.
Yeah.
And there are people who feel the effect the next day. So the denial phase only lasts for a few minutes, and then there comes the depression.
Yeah, they snap.
Exactly. So throughout, let's talk about grief. It goes through a stage. I'm not quite sure about it. It's a 5-step stage. The first one is always denial. They cannot believe the thing actually happened. I think the second thing is anger. They get angry. The third thing is bargaining. They start thinking, oh, if I did this differently, then they would not have, left or something. Then comes the depression. They feel sad about what happened. And then comes acceptance. And all these phases, they could last years, or just one day. You could experience denial and anger in like 6 months, and then the depression would last 3 years, and the acceptance would come at the end. So I think they all go through these stages. It just depends on how long and how much it takes, and so denial is always the first thing.
What would be helpful in case of going through a breakup?
I think it's recognizing. It's something I love to do. It's a list. You should do a list. What is the thing you gained from this relationship? What didn't you gain? What is the thing you lost in this relationship?
Yeah.
Some people lose themselves completely. They don't recognize themselves at all. And they have not gained anything.
Yeah, because there's a thing in relationships is that there is a microculture that gets created between these two people.
It's a little society.
It's a little society, so there's a whole kind of humor and a whole set of stories and way of speaking,
inside
etc.
jokes, mannerisms.
That happen only between these two people. So suddenly, that the whole thing is lost.
Yeah, it's like an empire that just fell.
Exactly.
You have to rebuild that again.
Yeah.
I think, as I said, it's good to make a list. It could be on your phone, like writing it down, because you have to look at it again and again to remember that you have lost something and you have not gained something, or just to know where you are standing in the relationship, like on the spectrum. Did you lose more than you gained, or did you gain more than you lose? And it's good to make a list. It's good to know these things, like the pros and cons. But it's also good to determine, how are you coping? Are you coping in an unhealthy way? Because some people go straight to drugs, they go straight to alcohol. Some people go straight to seeing other people. Like you break up today, the next day they're with another person. And it's kind of unhealthy. Or are you coping in a healthy way? Are you like crying? Are you letting it out? Are you relying on friends? Are you talking to friends about what happened? Like, this is healthy. So it's good to determine what you're doing and what you're not doing and what you should be doing.
So what you should be doing is talking to friends.
Oh, definitely. You should talk to friends. You should talk to your family. You should, as I said, make a list. You should, if the person has done you dirty and the relationship is over, you should get rid of everything. You shouldn't hold on to memories like pictures or the little trinkets that people save and collect throughout the years of the relationship. You should get rid of it, because it's just going to keep reminding you of the person. But it truly depends on how the person is coping, and some people go to self-harm. Some people start self-harming.
Yeah, some people spend years hoping that
the person might come back.
The person might come back.
Yes. They should accept that they might never come back.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It really depends on the case, on what they're doing and how they are coping.
Yeah. It's weird. Okay, what about, you mentioned Patrick Bateman
Yes.
from the movie Psycho. You said you're not into movies.
Yeah, but I was forced to watch it, actually.
All right, I'm gonna force you to watch her as well.
I will. I think I will.
Yeah. Everyone thinks he's a sociopath / psychopath,
Yes.
and also he's like a symbol towards this concept which is called being a sigma male.
Oh, yeah.
You're not an alpha. You're not a beta male.
You're above
You're
it
a
all.
sigma. Like you
Yes.
don't even get into the system. Like you yeah. So first of all, what kind of syndrome does he have?
So before we get into that, have you watched the movie?
Of course, 3 or 4 times.
All right. So what do you remember of the movie?
Him taking care of his face skin.
Okay. Other than that, like, what are the main events of the movie? I know it's a pressure kind of question, putting pressure on you.
So, I remember his interactions with his fiancée.
Yes.
Like she told him we need to arrange a date for our marriage, and he said like we don't have time
Yes.
work. Like it's such a millennial thing to say. What else? What else do I remember? I remember the scene where he killed Jared Leto.
Okay.
Which I wish was true because I don't like Jared Leto.
But yes, he didn't kill the person.
Yeah. It was all in his
image.
head.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where the movie gets interesting, because that's where it stops being about psychopathy. That's where the person, this character, is not considered a psychopath. Like, he is hallucinating.
Yeah.
He has delusions, not even hallucinations. He truly believes that he killed the person, which is not true, and that falls under psychosis. And look, there isn't like one official diagnosis for the character, which I forgot the name of. Patrick Bateman. Patrick Bateman.
Yeah.
So there's not an official diagnosis, like, because it's just a movie. There's not the full range of symptoms. It's not an interview between a patient and a psychologist or a psychiatrist. But we know that he has delusions. He hallucinates. He thinks about stuff that are not even real. He sees himself differently than how he truly is. Mm-hmm. So this falls under psychosis. And psychosis is like when your reality is altered. So as I said before, there is neurosis and psychosis. So neurosis is when you have depression, you have anxiety, but you're aware. You're aware that you are depressed. You know what you're going through. But psychosis is when you don't know what you're going through. A schizophrenic person is hallucinating, but they think it's real. They think it's a real interaction with a real thing. They don't think it's a hallucination.
Yeah.
And that's what Patrick Bateman had. He truly thought that he killed someone. He believed in the delusions. He didn't think that they were delusions. So he could be anywhere under delusional personality disorder, or even narcissistic, because he had a lot of narcissistic traits. He was manipulative. He was a jerk to a lot of people. He did think he was above a lot of people, which is not true. And that also could include narcissistic personality disorder. But psychopathy, not at all.
Okay,
like, the name is misleading.
Yeah.
But it's a great movie, though.
You mentioned schizophrenia. There's a trend on TikTok that's happening at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you have TikTok?
Yes.
Okay. So, of course you do. These people, like, say, living a life where you have your dream job, you have a family and 2 children, and then at the end of the TikTok, they start looking at a lamp. And
it's a Reddit lamp, right? It's a Reddit lamp.
A Reddit lamp? No, it doesn't have to be a Reddit.
I think the trend is called a Reddit lamp. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, when I looked into it, it turns out there was a guy who was in an accident.
Yes.
And then shortly after that, life turned out great for him. Like, right after the accident, he would found his dream job.
Let me search for it while you're talking.
Yeah, go ahead. He married his colleague, they had children, and then he realized he was just imagining everything when he looked at the lamp. Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, basically what happened is he started fixating a lamp, and his wife was telling him, why are you fixating this lamp? And then she looked.
It's a pixelated
she
lamp,
found
right?
help. Doesn't have to be pixelated. The lamp shouldn't be here.
It's a glitch in the matrix.
It's a glitch in the matrix.
Yes.
And then he realized that this whole thing
It's a glitch.
was in
It's
his
living
head.
in the matrix. Yeah. So, what do you think of it?
Oh, I think it's great. Great 3 years. At least he had 3 years.
But do you think it's schizophrenia?
I don't know. Isn't it schizophrenia? Well, he hit his head.
Exactly, he hit his head. So I've talked about it before. I don't know if you've seen my video about it when I was talking about diagnosis. I've mentioned that when it comes to diagnosis, if you have depression, we can diagnose you with depression. But if you were injured, like a brain injury, then the diagnosis changes because that factor changes everything. So the brain injury could be causing him, if the case is real, right?
Yeah,
if the case is real.
Nothing is real.
Because I'm pretty sure there's a huge possibility that it happens, where people, they hit their head, everything gets messed up, their whole personality changes because of that little injury. Not little, that big injury, you know? So it wouldn't consider it schizophrenia because it has a lot of symptoms and stuff. It's not just living in a delusion, but it could happen. It could be real, and it's really scary. I mean, I would not want to live it.
There's this guy. This is also a real story, according to the internet, anyway.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
So this guy, normal guy, working class guy, entered into a bar. There was a fight in the bar which he was not involved in, but the person who hit him thought he was the guy he was trying to hit.
Yeah.
So he got hit by like a stick on the back of his head, and he had a concussion. He went into a coma. I don't know how long it was, but when he woke up, everything was normal except he started looking at things in a geometric way.
Okay.
Like he stopped recognizing that a table is a table. Instead, it's a rectangle on top of a cylinder.
Yes, that is very neurological.
Yes. And even when he looks at people, he doesn't see like a human being in front of him. He sees two circles, and then a circle here, and then a circle, not a circle, an arc here, and
it's like a Picasso syndrome kind of thing.
So what happened is he was sitting in a coffee shop or a restaurant or something, and he was like drawing the way he saw his surroundings. And then there was a guy who went to him and he was like, the thing that you're working on, I am working on it as well. I'm a psychophysicist, I'm a theoretical physician, and I work on I think quantum gravity and stuff. And he was like, glad to meet a colleague. And the guy was like, I'm not your colleague. I have nothing to do with
I have a concussion.
So this guy took some physics courses.
Yes.
He became a doctor because he had such an easy understanding
of the things. Yes.
Yeah, over space and space-time, etc. He became a doctor, and now he works at a university. Was
it explained why he was?
I don't know. I saw it in a Vsauce video.
I love Vsauce.
So it was just mentioned. The story was mentioned, but I didn't really look into it. But yeah. Anyway, let's do a quick thing where we get out of psychology.
All right.
Tell me about yourself. Things that you're interested in that are not psychology.
On psychology, there's a lot of things. So as I've mentioned before,
you said books.
Yeah, I love books, but nothing of the academic kind. So we're not talking about stuff related to psychology, not related to self-help books or science fiction. I'm very much into modern fantasy books. I'm a big bookworm. I have a book club actually. I'm also into, what am I into? I don't know what I'm into. I'm into music.
Okay.
I love music. This is a hard question. You cannot ask people this. It's like sneaking up on a person. And
I do. Because
it's like you forget all of your interest in that moment.
I know it happens. But tell me about the books that you read.
Yeah, so
modern fantasy. What is that?
It's like books about. it's very silly, but it's really not. It's like they're really big books, like 600 pages of just drama and plot, and it's about, let's say, vampires, witches, stuff like that. It's very interesting. I mean, it has no value. It has no like personal value. It's not I'm not developing myself in any way. Exactly. It's like a little guilty pleasure of mine.
It's not guilty. Why does it have to be guilty?
Yeah, because I spend a lot of time on it. You know, I think this year so far, because I do have I do record how many books I read. I think I've read 80 books so far, and I want to reach 100. So it does take a lot of my time, a lot of my time. And I will include psychology in it because I can't help it. It's kind of like an escapism. You know how people escape their reality using video games or music. I do it with books. I love it.
Okay.
But there's not many interests. I love music, as I said. I don't watch a lot of movies. I can't. It's not. I get bored. Even if the plot is interesting, it's like I can't just sit still and watch 2 hours.
Go to the cinema.
I do, and even then, I'm like.
What movies did you watch in the theater?
Okay, so I am big into superhero movies. I'm a Marvel fan, also DC. I mean, so yeah, I've watched. So I've watched superhero movies. I am not into science fiction. I'm not at all.
That is a type of science fiction / fantasy superhero.
Kind of, yes. But it's also like, let's save the day, yoo-hoo. But science fiction is more, it's deeper than that, you know? It's not as superficial as watching, I don't know, Spider-Man, you know?
Yeah.
But I did watch the classics, like The Martian and, the space one.
The Martian is a classic now?
Yeah, it is a classic, isn't it? I mean, it's like, it's just like American Psycho. It's like one of those movies that you have to watch if you're into cinema.
Interstellar is one of those movies.
I did like that. It was kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie.
Interstellar was boring.
No, it was so long. There's like so many spaces in between. There is another space movie. Oh, I forgot the name. It's a very old.
What happens? Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
2001 Space Odyssey.
But
it was at the time. It was people's first experience of space.
I know, but there's video, like, you know, in the movie, there's like just 20 minutes of images of space. Like, get to the plot. I want to know what happened.
At that time, images of space weren't available. People didn't see
I understand that.
Yeah. Because they did. Today you go to YouTube and you see videos of the space station.
It's
and
available to everyone.
There, etc. But at that time, people were completely blown away by it. The same way Interstellar was a complete hit when it came out, because for the first time we had like a story that involved general relativity.
Yeah, but at least Interstellar had a plot.
Yeah.
You know, even though it was a very mysterious plot, but it had a plot. It has a base. You know what you're watching.
You have to watch it backward.
But Space Odyssey is just like what the hell am I watching? It's just like, it's a picture of a moon that I've been staring at for 2 hours.
That was the whole thing. Today it doesn't make sense.
Exactly, it doesn't make sense, and they consider it a classic. I mean, I see why people do. I mean, there's a picture of space behind you.
Yeah.
But other than that. You know, speaking of hobbies and stuff, I did remember something. I love cooking. I know you said you love cooking as well.
I do too.
I love baking more.
No, you love
to bake.
Okay, I don't like baking.
I'm a big baker.
So you cook sweet things?
I do cook savory stuff, but baking is my passion. I just love, you know, when you put something in the oven and you see it rise and it becomes pretty, and it's just it's too pretty to eat.
Yeah. Your motherhood instincts. Go into that, no, I'm more into making lunch and making dinner. I'm making like the best possible lunch and best possible.
What's your favorite dish to make?
It depends on the time. It depends on what I haven't eaten in a long time. But all the dishes that I like contain a lot of protein.
Okay, I see.
But at the moment, my favorite dish to make, and I haven't yet mastered it, it's very difficult, especially with Algerian ingredients, is chicken butter.
How does
the Indian dish? It's like chicken in a soup of butter.
Okay. Are you using... Yeah, we don't have real butter. I mean, it's not accessible everywhere.
Actual butter? Natural butter, you mean?
Yeah, like natural.
Oh, I
real
use
butter.
natural butter. It's not as good as margarine. Margarine is better.
Yeah,
I don't
even
know
though
why.
it's not real butter, but
It's not real butter.
Yeah.
It's basically oil.
I have this thing with baking as well because to create a good recipe you have to use authentic ingredients.
Oh, yeah.
And butter is used.
Expensive chocolate and expensive.
Oh yeah, they're so expensive. Like I do it for the pleasure. Most of the time I don't even eat what I bake. I do it because it's a little happy activity that I like to do that distresses me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so expensive. Like I'm not gonna buy butter 200,000 to make 3 cookies.
Come on, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
And it's not 200,000. It's like the thing less, much less.
It's an
here.
exaggeration. It's a little metaphor.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I get you. And then there's a lot of baking stuff that I have not mastered yet. I want to.
So there's a thing that I discovered recently. It's called MSG. I wish I discovered it before. Have you ever eaten Indomie?
No, but I think I know what MSG is. It's like the additive that they add to food.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen. I don't know if you know him. He's called Joshua. He cooks. Yeah, he's a cook on YouTube.
Joshua. No?
Wait, I'm gonna say Joshua Bass something. He talks so much about MSG. There's also like the Asian guy.
Uncle
yeah,
Roger.
he wears. He talks so much about MSG. So wait.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's Joshua? Because I use his recipes. Yes, this guy. Wait.
Have you used MSG?
I don't even know where to get MSG.
Oh, okay.
Do you know this guy?
I don't know him, but I'm gonna follow him.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. So the story of MSG is actually interesting. There's a guy whose wife was used to make him really, really delicious soups, and he was a chemist, like a chemical engineer.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Wait a minute, I need to figure out why is your soup delicious?"
Yeah,
and
it is a chemistry thing.
So he took it to the lab, and it turns out, it was because of, so this is in 1905. It was of...
They really didn't have anything to do in 1905. Like,
no, but
you could have created a cure for cancer, right?
I wish there was an Algerian who ate really good shorba.
Yeah.
And then he took it to the lab. Like
They should.
nobody ever does that. Like he had to be Japanese. So it turns out it's monosodium glutamate. So just this chemical is what is tasty in cheese, what is tasty in meat, what is tasty in tomatoes, etc. So he was able to isolate it and make it into a powder. So it's a bit of a salty powder, but it's like a cheat code. You put it into any dish, and it turns into a really delicious one. It's the thing that's
Indomie, like the packets had
the white thing is yes. People are obsessed.
They do have a terrible smell.
I don't know about the smell.
Yeah,
but
they do. They do. I don't know do you know halba?
No.
Halba is like this. It's not powder. It comes in a powder form. I think people eat it to gain weight, right? But it has a terrible smell, and it makes you smell bad, right? Okay. So the packets of Indomie, they have the same smell. Sorry, they have the same smell as the halba.
Is it like rotten eggs? Smell of rotten eggs?
Let me search it. It's not rotten eggs. It's like this. Wait, halba. All right. It's not rotten eggs. It's just something that makes you feel
MSG is pretty much odorless, huh?
Oh, okay.
No.
It's called fenugreek. Look. It's this little thingy thing.
Never heard, never saw it. No, never really.
Is it sold in Algeria, MSG?
No. I think they bring it every once in a while. Some supermarket brings it. But no, usually it's not. And now that Indomie has been banned. So
it has, I've not seen it in a while.
Yeah. Because there's Jumbo.
And it's not good.
No, it's not.
I'm sorry, Jumbo, but it's not good.
And it doesn't contain MSG. It just doesn't contain MSG.
All right.
So yeah. That
makes sense.
Yeah, I make spaghetti, but the thing about spaghetti, if you want good spaghetti, you need the really thin type. And that's like the thin spaghetti absorbs the sauce and the cheese.
Okay,
And, So they're not sold. There's no Algerian brand that sells thin spaghetti. You have to buy.
You could make them yourself.
You can make them yourself, but I
it's
don't
a
know how. I
really
don't
easy
have the
recipe.
machine. I don't have the machine.
You could do it by hand.
Really?
Yeah.
Really thin spaghetti by hand.
It's gonna take you a long time, but it's possible,
Okay.
Something to spend time on.
All right. Yeah. So I asked you about your interest. The reason why I asked you about that is because I had so many guests where I would find out about their hobbies that is really interesting way after. Way after the podcast. Yeah. So.
I probably do have other hobbies that I just can't think of right now. It's like the pressure question.
One of my guests, a guest that I had, I discovered that he was a professional thief way after I had him on the podcast. Yeah, and people were like, don't you Google your guest?
did he steal anything?
Oh, yeah.
No, from the studio?
No, he didn't. He didn't.
Okay.
But yeah, like famous, honest to God.
But damn, I mean, it takes courage to actually admit that.
Well, he did not admit.
Oh.
Well.
How did it happen? How did you figure it out?
When I posted the podcast, people were texting me, were like, "You got that guy." Yeah.
I hope it doesn't happen. I didn't steal anything.
Yeah. He's not. He's wanted abroad.
Wow.
Yeah,
you should do a background check on people.
Yeah, I should do.
Yeah, you definitely should. Yeah. I mean, I would understand because my page does not have anything personal on it. I try not to because I know it's bad. It's very unethical. People, we have a code of ethics. We cannot treat our friends, we cannot treat our family, and we cannot treat people we know. Okay. We cannot, even if they come to زعما الكابينت عندي واحد كنعرفه, I cannot. I am obligated by law, the law psychologist, not Zaire, by law تاعنا to just send him to another psychologist.
Okay.
And one of our codes of ethics as well is to never let the patient know anything personal about you. Like بكري, back in the 90s or so, a lot of psychologists used to remove their wedding rings before they enter the cabinet, because if they leave it on, the patient will know that the psychologist is married. And it was considered unethical to know these kind of informations. Doka, not so much.
Yeah. So tell me about cases of psychologists falling in love with their patients, or the contrary.
I think the contrary happens way more, because there is this meme in the mental health community, in the psychologist community, where you have a patient and they're so cool, you want to be their friend, but you can't because you're obligated to not, like even if you're my patient, and you're in my cabinet and we're having like our little therapy session, and then I see you outside, I cannot talk to you. Even if you come talk to me, I would just be like, and then just go on my way. Even if I still have something to do in that place, I need to leave because I cannot talk to you. So chances of a psychologist falling in love with a patient, I mean, you do you, but I don't think.
Yeah, but
that's good.
But at the same time, when you've been treating a patient, don't you get emotionally involved with them?
You do. You get attached. You get committed to them. You want, like, a lot of people think, oh, my psychologist doesn't care about me. She just sees me and she gets her 250,000 la séance and that's it. But no, we actually do care about the patients, and we get emotional. And sometimes you hear patients that kill themselves or they die like a sudden death or so, and you get so emotional and you might also get traumatized from it,
Yeah.
I had a friend who is also a psychologist. Remember when Bijaya and Tizi Ouzou was burning? Yeah. He volunteered to go there and help the children. And he got so emotionally invested that when he came back, he had like so many signs of trauma and PTSD from like talking to the kids and stuff. So we do get emotionally involved.
Yeah.
But the other case, where patients fall in love with you, it will happen. It will happen so many times, and you just have to deal with it. Sometimes you have to cut the contract. You have to tell them, hey, I can't see you anymore because what you're doing is not ethical.
Which would harm their mental state even more.
Yes, and it would harm my practice as well. There are people with very severe mental disorders where, like the delusion, like Patrick Bateman, if he was my patient and he's delusional, right? He's gonna make delusions about me. He's gonna think I'm in love with him. Mm-hmm. Then he's gonna do some stalkish behavior towards me, and that's gonna affect me. I know, and it's gonna affect him as well, but it's gonna affect me mostly. So if I see a patient that's slowly showing interest in me beyond our therapeutic,
looking you up on social media,
they can look me up on social media, but if they text me, I'm gonna ignore it.
Yeah, even like I have students. I never tell them about my
podcast.
I never tell them about my podcast. I find it weird. Very, very weird. I never tell them about my personal life. I don't tell them about my careers and stuff like that. I just teach them.
Yeah, it's because it's the job. It's like you can't mix your personal life with your job.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. And like I told you that I have the most interesting class that I have
today.
Every week is today, which is it's a class composed of I think 6 women. And the thing with it is they don't take things too seriously. Like with men, they take it seriously. I'm here to learn a language. But with the women, they instantly became friends, and like they all have different personalities, and we joke around, etc. And they keep saying that this is a therapeutic session for them. Like it's so different from their daily lives, from their job, and we like
it's a little escape for them.
It's an escape. So. Yeah, they weirded me out a little bit when they said that. Like, I'm not a psychologist, and I don't know how to do that. And like, you're not supposed to feel better.
Yeah,
through your
it's not
English
as
classes.
much as what you're doing or the English classes. The fact that they have the meme that it was the friendship all along. You know the meme. It's literally how they feel. It's like they came here expecting to learn something, and then they developed a relationship, a friendship with like 6 women. You said, between 6 women, and now they probably meet outside of your class. They go to each other's houses.
One of them drives another home.
Yeah, exactly. And men don't have this. We talked about it before. Like, I'm pretty sure. Do you have like men-centered classes only?
A few.
Yeah, but they're not as you said. They're not as interactive as the women are.
Like recently, I realized that some men actually try, but they don't know how. For example, some men bring chocolate with them. Others bring water with them. Like they bring things that they want to share with others, and this is like an act of friendship. Like this is an act of reaching out.
Do you want to help with that?
Do
you want to help with that? Do you want to help them?
Like recently,
your classmates?
Before a few days ago, I thought that I'm not involved in that. Like I don't care. But recently, I thought, maybe like especially after watching the loneliness video, I thought maybe I should help people about that.
Okay, I could give you some techniques. Look, I animate group therapy. I have yet to do individual therapies, but I animate group therapies, and there are many techniques we do to break the ice between the people, right? So there are games that you could play with the classmates, not like games like games where they get to know each other, they get to rely on each other, they get to build a relationship between each other. One of the main games we do is that we get a ball. Yeah, there's 6 people. We get a ball and we pass it to the person. And the person who picks the ball needs to get up and gives a compliment to the person قدامه. And then they throw the ball to another person, and they, it goes around and around. And these are little games that will build trust between the classmates, in your case. And there are so many. I could send you a book about it. I have a book about it. They could play ways where they... Do you do like group projects? Do you give them like exercises to do? Like
I do. I give them homework, but not group projects.
You should. I think it would help.
That's a really, really good idea, actually.
Yeah, exactly. How many like the 6 women group? Let's say they are a man. You could divide them into 2, 3, and you each give them like a project, and you tell them that they will compete at the end to see who will win like the best project, and they will work against each other but with each other, but at the same time it will build a relationship between them. So you could do that with the men. It would help them. They would appreciate it a lot, I think.
Yeah. That's a good idea. So you said that you have like a book club, but also you said you did group therapy.
Yes. So which one do you want to talk about first?
So these are 2 different things.
Definitely, yeah, at all.
I'm more interested in the group therapy.
Okay, so the group therapy I have only started recently. It's where, let's say, I'm not doing it privately, I'm doing it with my colleagues, because you need supervision. You can't do it alone. You need at least 2 therapists with you or another one. Especially if the group has 15 people. Like one needs to talk and one needs to supervise, And let's say it's a full day kind of thing. It's from like 9 ل 4, where There is a little bit of activities, and then there are exercises, and there are group things where they do it together, or individual things. And it depends on the topic or the theme of the group. Let's say I am animating a group about, let's say, communication and confidence. I will choose 15 people, and they all need to be in the same age range. This is an example. And they don't have to know each other, but they can know each other, like it's fine. And we will start with the basics where to break the glass, where they get to know each other and stuff. And then truly depending on the theme of the group, we choose exercises and activities based on that. So they can like get more confident, learn how to communicate better, you know? So this is a sign, this is an explication of group therapy. And there are other kinds, like more severe kinds, you know, for people who suffer from trauma, where they have like a program. We have a program like we need to stick to, you know, like a 12-step program. Just like, you know, the alcoholic, exactly, like they are shown in media. So there is a program that they stick to. So we have that as well. And we have like the random ones, like how to communicate better, how to gain self-control, how to stuff like that. So yeah.
So do you still do it?
Yes.
Okay, where, when?
Yes, so basically I don't do it myself. I'm not the one who coordinates the when and the how and the who. You know, I work on another person, and the person who he gets the patients, and he gets. Now we make the program. He says yes. He gives us the place, and we do the therapies, right? So I have yet to do it on my own. And so far we have done one with kids, right? And it was a little group about bullying, you know, where we showed them pictures of kids getting bullied, and we would be like, "Is this okay? Do you think this is okay?" And then we hear the comments.
Were there bullies among them?
Yes, sometimes there are. I'll give you an example of an activity we did. It's called Usharaik. Like this is the name of the activity, where you get a big poster of a Facebook feed. It's like a screenshot of a Facebook feed, and you give them all like little reactions, you know, the emojis. All the groups مدلهم هذيك الخمسة ولا ستة reactions, right? And you print posters of situations, like a kid bullying another kid, and you stick it in the poster تاع the feed, and you tell them تكون جزء في الفيسبوك and تشوف هاد الحاجة كيف راح ترياجي, you know. And a lot of kids in the bullying section would do the haha react, you know, and I would ask them why the haha react. They would say, oh, because it's funny, because I do it with my friends too, you know. And other kids would do the sad emoji, and I would ask them why, and they say because this is what people do to me, you know. And we work on it, we expand it more and stuff, you know, and we teach them that no, this is not okay. You shouldn't bully others.
Yeah, you do it with adults as well.
Yes.
So how
not the bullying or whatever.
how is it possible to sign up? I'm sure a lot of people who listen.
Yes. For now, I don't think it's up to me, because I said I work for someone. He's the one that does the sign up and stuff. I do post about it. So so whenever there is an opportunity where people can sign up, most of the time it's free, right? So they don't really need to pay much. There are the paid ones as well, but there are free resources to do it. So they could just follow a psychologist online that posts about it. I do personally, whenever there's an atelier gratuit or a group gratuit, I would post about it and people could come. So yeah, but it's mostly in Algiers. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. Most people who listen to this live in Algiers, so... All right. Hind, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Super, super interesting.
Thank you.
Do you have any idea how much we done, how much time we did?
I'm going to assume 2 hours and a half.
Just 2 hours.
Okay.
Usually people get less, but you got more. Okay. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming all the way to Blida.
It's a cursed place, but it's fine.
Anyway, maybe another time you come back.
I mean, I would love to. I mean, it was my first time to train, so I'll definitely come again.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
That's cool.